everybody!
Welcome to Bo and Mo Company, where we discuss and you listen.
We're going to be discussing if John Green's novel, Looking for Alaska, should belong in high school English classrooms.
And the answer is yes, it should.
There comes a time when we realize that our parents cannot save themselves or save us, that everyone who wades through time eventually gets dragged out to sea by the undertow. That, in short, we are all going.
Parents can't save us from everything, and their opposing opinion is mostly caused from the lack of knowledge they have for what's actually inside the novel.
Parents obviously don't want their children to grow up. They don't want to face the reality that their kids are aware of more than PG-13 aspects of life.
Cussing, sex, drinking, smoking, drugs, all things parents obviously wouldn't want their children doing, let alone reading about.
Parents don't want their children reading this book for the pure fear of them growing up and not making the right decisions. There's no way to tell which decision is the right one.
And the book teaches us that our teenage years are all about learning how to make the right decisions, and when you make the wrong decision, to deal with the consequences that come with that.
For instance, Pudge in the book. He has to live with his decision that he's smoking, and being friends with the colonel who smokes, being friends with Alaska, and letting Alaska drive that night. Everyone makes right and wrong decisions, adults or kids. How are kids supposed to handle certain situations if they're not even allowed to read about them? Most everyone knows about high school parties, whether you attend them or not. If teenagers are in high school, there should be no reason as to why they aren't allowed to read about what their classmates are involved in.
When John Green is writing his books, specifically Looking for Alaska, he attempts to draw teenagers in by incorporating real-life aspects that parents don't always agree upon. But it's these real-life aspects that make us want to read it because it's so relatable.
In John Green's novel, he's able to capture
awkwardness.
He's also able to capture
emotion
and school struggles. Even in our own freshman health class last year, we learned about different types of drugs, alcohol incidents, and STDs. Mr. Wetzel preached to us how we don't need to do these things, and these are not necessary to have a good time. We had plenty of class meetings that told us what would happen if we did them, all the consequences we would go through, and that we just shouldn't do them in general. Only a year after this meeting, I could only pick a couple people in my class that have yet to participate in these.
Looking for Alaska is also a refresher from all the other classics we have to read, such as Animal Farm, To Kill a Mockingbird, and Frankenstein.
If people don't consider Looking for Alaska a classic,
a book that hasn't finished saying what it's trying to say,
does it really finish what it has to say? Just because we know where Alaska was going that night does not mean we know if her death was intentional or not.
Romeo and Juliet, the ultimate classic by Shakespeare. Two star-crossed lovers who end up killing themselves to be with each other, when in reality, it's hard to even talk to your crush. But we still read it, because it's a classic.
The whole point of reading a classic is to discuss the so what and why, or if it really matters. We bring about our own life connections in our own individual ways to the novel.
Reading Looking for Alaska this year goes along with the whole idea of coming of age. In the novel, it's debatable whether Pudge came of age, but he proved to us that eventually he will. Through going through the love of Alaska and the loss of Alaska, he showed us how himself, as well as other teenagers, are invincible, which proves how we will eventually come of age.
Despite the fact that some parents don't approve, Looking for Alaska does belong in a high school English classroom because it challenges readers to think about certain aspects like happiness and suffering.
And at the same time, it's such a relatable book, and this encourages teenagers to take away their own purposes.
Alright guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And I hope you get to read Looking for Alaska in your English class.
Bo Mo Co.
Out!